From 1783, when the Tsarist Empire annexed Crimea a decade after defeating Ottoman forces in the Battle of Kozludzha, to 1954, when the Soviet government transferred Crimea from the Russian Soviet Federation of Socialist Republics, RSFSR, to the Ukrainian Soviet Socialist Republic. Crimea was part of Russia, UkrSSR. The transfer was publicized in the Soviet press in late February 1954, 8 days after the Presidium of the USSR Supreme Soviet authorized it on February 19th. Why did Khrushchev transfer Crimea to Ukraine? Let's talk about it. But before we get started, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. Historians are divided on this point. This is mainly linked to Khrushchev's well-known extravagance or his attempt to atone for his guilt towards Ukrainians as a result of the mass repressions in which he was involved in the past. The truth is that Crimea's water supplies are among the lowest in Europe. According to statistics data, fresh water was unfit for drinking in half of the peninsula's communities in 1864. Without increased irrigation, crop farming would be next to impossible. The first efforts to transfer water from the Dnieper River arose in the middle of the 19th century, followed by some at the beginning of the 20th century. Due to a lack of funding, none of them were funded. On September 21, 1951, the USSR Council of Ministers approved the decree on the construction of the Kakhovka HPP on the Dnieper River, the South Ukrainian Canal, and the North Crimean Canal, and on irrigation land in Ukraine's south and Crimea's north regions. The USSR State Planning Committee determined the cost of work and surveys began. Construction of the Kakhovka Reservoir on the Dnieper River, the Kakhovka HPP, dozens of pumping stations, hundreds of kilometers of power lines and roadways, and the excavation of millions of tons of soil were all part of the scope. The North Crimean Canal alone had a planned length of approximately 402 kilometers, while the entire length of its water networks topped 5,000 kilometers. Needless to say, the construction would necessitate thousands of workers as well as a large amount of building and road machinery. The Kakhovka Reservoir, with the HPP and canal system, became the greatest infrastructure project in the post-war USSR. In reality, ministries in the USSR were separated into Union and Republic ministries. The first types were in charge of matters affecting the entire country, while the second was in charge of issues affecting the republics. The actual execution of Union-level initiatives, on the other hand, was the responsibility of ministries in the republics where such programs were conducted. Everything was obvious in terms of the Kakhovka HPP and the South Ukrainian Canal. They were constructed within Ukrainian territory and were thus directly under the supervision of the UKSSR Council of Ministers. The Republic established a company called UkrSSR for this purpose. Additionally, there was Dniepostroy Company, which built the Dnieprojes between 1927 and 1932. The construction of the North Crimean Canal was more difficult. It would begin in the territory of the UKSSR at the Kakhovka Reservoir and terminate in Crimea on the territory of the RSFSR with a branching irrigation system. However, the management of any projects within the area of the RSFSR by the Council of Ministers of the UKSSR was unprecedented in Soviet history. It would also be foolish to build the canal to the Crimean border and then hand it over to the RSFSR Council of Ministers to operate. Much by simple calculation, it was evident that managing the massive construction project stretched across the area of the two republics would be easier from a single center and even better from Ukraine. It was near Crimea. Despite this, the majority of the work was completed within its borders. Then Khrushchev had an idea to solve the entire package of administrative and economic problems, the Crimean region, as well as the responsibility for the construction of the Crimean portion of the canal, should be transferred to the republic that was closer and was already involved in the irrigation system's construction. At the end of the day, it didn't matter who formally owned Crimea, because the Soviet Union was unbreakable and would endure indefinitely. And to embellish the fact of the transfer, a suitable date was chosen, the impending 300th anniversary of the Perezilov Council as a symbol of the Russian and Ukrainian Union. One of the ironies of the transfer of Crimea to Ukraine in 1954 is when Kliment Voroshilov, chairman of the Presidium of the USSR Supreme Soviet, delivered his concluding remarks during the session on February 19, 1954. On April 26 the same year, the Supreme Soviet of the USSR adopted the Presidium's decree and made the necessary revisions to the USSR Constitution. Since then, the Ukrainian Soviet Socialist Republic's Council of Ministers has been fully responsible for the construction of the North Crimean Canal, named after the Ukrainian Komsomol, as well as any other improvements in Crimea, including the previously unprecedented construction of the multi-kilometer mountain trolley bus line Simferopol-Alushta-Yalta. As a result, it appears that Khrushchev's decision to transfer Crimea to Ukraine was not dictated by an international feeling of people-to-people friendship, nor by his guilt complex towards the Ukrainian people, and certainly not by a romantic desire to make a luxury gift to his Ukrainian wife, as was previously rumored. In 1954, the fate of Crimea was determined by a pragmatic and seemingly simple economic decision to construct a canal between two Union republics that were friends at the time. So guys, that was it for this video. What did you think about our video? Let us know in the comments section below. If you are new to our channel, be sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell to get notified about our latest videos. Thanks for watching.